This is a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. Go to allthews.3cr.org.au.
Slavery is back.
Welcome to a place where private business profit from a captive labour force, yet pennies are spent on medical services to a population in which the Indigenous, the poor and the mentally ill are overrepresented. Where isolation, humiliation and degradation are facts of life. Welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick, and check out Doin Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doin Time show. This is 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. And a warning that this episode of Doin Time will contain audio, images and descriptions of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have died and graphic discussion of deaths in custody. I'm Marisa and I'll be with you for the next hour. First up on the show, we will bring you an interview with Marianne Mackay, First Nations activist, who will bring us updates and much needed commentary on what's happening in Western Australia with youth and bail laws and any other things that she wants to talk about. It's always important and I'm really happy to be having a yarn with Marianne. It's been a long time since she's been on the show, and in fact, she did come to Melbourne a couple of years ago and was with me right in the studio live. So really looking forward to speaking with her, and I'm hoping also to get her views on certain candidates in the election and looking at the aftermath of that. And it's great to speak with Mob from Western Australia. It's always important to speak about what's happening, not just with youth, but with First Nations people altogether as well. We've also spoken to Megan and Jerry on the show as well. After that, we'll talk to Boe Spearim, who is a First Nations podcaster and activist and has done excellent radio episodes on First Nations content. And we'll be crossing over to Queensland. They will both, Marianne and Boe, will tell us what land they're on. With Boe, we'll be speaking about the Native Police historical context and link it to the present. We'll also talk about deaths in custody, and we'll talk about how police brutality and police powers have contributed to genocide and colonization in so-called Australia. Hello, Marianne. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how you going? Sorry, I had you on mute because I got like 1,000 teenagers and kids running around in the house.
Oh, wow. Can you hear yourself?
Hey, yeah, a little bit.
That's all right. Tell us what's been going on. First of all, can you tell us what land you're on?
I am on Wajak Butcher, which is one of our nations on Yunga country. And what
land do you come from?
I'm a Yunga, so I'm a Wajak Yorga, like Wajak Yorga, but I'm also a Minang Yorga, which is down South Albany way. But I have bloodlines from like Albany right up to Northampton.
Fantastic. So, Marianne, you've been on this show quite a few times, although you've had a bit of a break from the Doin Time show, so you know how we run. But I don't know, I wanted to invite you on the show this time because I heard you on ABC a couple of months ago, I think, and you were in Melbourne, might have been a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about youth criminalisation and bail laws. And I was listening to that interview and I thought it was too short, and mainstream media do not really address the underlying issues of genocide and colonisation. And I'm wondering I just wanted to expand on that and see if you could talk about youth and what's happening with bail laws and what we can do to change the situation.
I'm on a radio interview. Please don't come in my room. Sorry,
That's
just
all right.
my daughter.
That's right.
She's 20.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, so I can hear myself. That's weird, eh?
That's all right.
Yeah. So, what was the question again?
I just wanted to see if you could talk to us about the bail laws in Western Australia and looking at what's happening with our Aboriginal youth and some of the atrocities that are happening as a result of colonisation.
Well, we talk constantly about the stolen generation and how Kevin Rudd said sorry in 2007. But what we've got to understand is that the stolen generation is really a present issue, because we've got kids being removed from their families' care at a higher rate than the stolen generation. So there is a lack of funding put into family support and keeping the families together. Instead, 3/4 or probably more, 75% or something, or 80%, is actually spent in moving children from their families' care. And if we look at the statistics with Banksia Hill Detention Centre, kids are being removed, on the basis that they're being neglected. Well, that's what the department says. We differ from that opinion. But the majority of kids that are in Banksia Hill are actually under the care of the state. So if they're being removed because the department are saying they're being neglected, well, how are they providing them with a better care than what the families could when they're ending up in detention and getting in trouble, with the criminal justice system?
Exactly. And obviously they're being criminalised from when they're taken away as well.
Well, exactly. Like, say if a child is put on a curfew and they breach their curfew, right? Or if they're picked up after hours. Well, under the supervised bail laws in WA for the young people, so supervised bail laws just mean that because they're under 18, they've got to be signed out and placed into the care of a responsible adult, who can monitor them. So if they're in the care of the state, how are they supposed to be signed out from a police station if there's been something happen and, they've been taken into police custody? They take them straight to Banksia because the Department of Child Protection don't work after hours.
Exactly.
So you might have kids that have never even stepped into Banksia Hill and they're being taken just because they're in the care of the state and there's no responsible adult to sign them out on bail because the Department of Child Protection won't let family members go in there because they've been removed.
Exactly. So you've got your stolen generation, and in fact Auntie Vicky Roach was a criminal at the age of 3. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of mob where they actually had criminal records, from very young ages or as soon as they were born.
I was being sarcastic there.
Which actually shocked me,
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I actually, phrased it like that because I think it really needs to be in people need to understand exactly what's going on here. I mean, in fact, there's been a lot of dangerous and discriminatory bail laws passed in Victoria recently, which will deeply harm Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities and breach human rights. What are the bail laws like in Western Australia? Have they changed them yet?
Not that I'm aware of. We have supervised bail laws over here, which I just spoke about.
Yeah.
And so, all they have to do is, they won't release any young people, on bail, if they've got nowhere to stay, if they're considered a risk to other people or themselves, if they've committed a serious offence, while they've been on bail. So they don't have no places, no safe places that kids could go to if they can't contact a responsible adult. You know, and if they can't contact people for whatever reasons, the kids are just taken straight to Banksia, and I don't think that's fair because they're criminalising kids because the laws are so strict when kids have been taken into the care of the state.
That's not fair because then they end up being incarcerated again.
No, that's right. Yeah, you know, and what's really frustrating is there's that much research out there that talks about how much the kids are the futures of our generations, you know, and yet where's the support for these kids? Like, kids have hopes and dreams too, and sometimes they come into contact, you know, with the criminal justice system for whatever reason, and because of the laws that say that they can be held criminally responsible at 10 years of age, you've got kids that are in primary school, their brains are still developing, and they're being charged like as if they're an adult that understands, you know, everything that they're actually doing. And you might have a 10-year-old that's gone and got a feed from a shop, and they're being charged for stealing because they're hungry.
Correct.
You know, and I remember years ago that 12-year-old was charged for stealing a $1 Freddo frog.
1788 all over again.
You know, it's ridiculous. Like, they should have, like, safe houses, you know, not like hostels, because a lot of these group homes, kids don't want to go to them, you know. But they should have, like, safe places where you've got loving people working in those places that are genuine and truly care about kids' welfare. So that if the police can't get a hold of the Department of Child Protection or a responsible adult, at least they can go there until families can be contacted, you know, like the next day or whatever, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really frustrating because we go in the children's court and we see these little ninny ones, you know, like little kids, and they're being taken to custody or they've been brought up from downstairs because they're in custody, you know?
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is, especially when you see, like, sadness in their eyes, you know? It's like these kids need help and support.
Yeah, not for that to happen.
No, that's right. And with the Department of Child Protection, you know, like, we all have big, loving families, you know, so they can't give excuses like, oh, we couldn't find a suitable person for the child to go to, and it's like, come on. You know, like, you're making up now.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
So that really does make Stolen Generation worse.
Well, it does, because these kids are not having access to continue their cultural identity because they're being forced into an assimilation process.
Yeah, it's really horrible. I'm glad that we were able to look at WA, because I know that when I was speaking with Megan last year, I believe it is, from the suicide prevention place, Megan Cracker.
Yeah.
They talked a lot about this, Megan and Jerry, about how, you know, kids should be on country, you know, and about raising the age as well. Yep,
that's right. And, you know, this is what we talk about all the time. Instead of them being taken into custody, they should be having programs with the elders where they take them out. Take them out on country, you know, go and engage in some cultural activities. You know, have camps that are full of fun and laughter and love and culture and confidence building and lifting their self-esteem and, you know, being able to think of the dreams that they want and being put on pathways where they can achieve those dreams.
Exactly. Now, I'm conscious that you've got the school run pretty soon, but...
Yeah, I do.
Wanted to quickly talk about the aftermath of the election. I know you and I were talking off air. What do you think about what's going on with I know Dutton's been voted out, but you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, I think that's good. You know, Queensland has spoken, and you know, regardless of how people feel about the two major parties, it's good to see so many women being elected into politics.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, then you got Jacinta Price there jumping ship 5 days after the election before the votes have even been finished counted.
Tell us about that.
Well, she was actually elected on a National Party platform with the CLP, and they've held that seat for 35 years. So that Senator Matt Canavan, he actually said it's like a footy team where you just jump sides, you know, because you just got no loyalty to the other side. So you just jump side thinking that you can get a better deal because they're more likely to win the grand final. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and then you've got Labor Party mobs that have said that her decision was driven by ego.
Yeah.
Because she should have said that she wanted to run for the, you know, defect to the Liberal Party before the election, and then there might have been a different outcome, because her votes in the Northern Territory actually dropped 11%. And in her hometown of Alice Springs, the votes, I think there was about 150, 180 less votes. And that's what that Matt Canavan said from the Nationals, is that if she can't even gain support in her hometown of Alice Springs, well, what hope does she have representing the people?
Truthfully, and Jacinta Price is Aboriginal, right? She's Aboriginal, correct?
She has Aboriginal blood. I wouldn't call her Aboriginal,
but she identifies herself as so, I believe. But I think what I find interesting, and I've actually heard, it's the truth. So, you know, it's okay to say this on air. But I don't think she really believes in colonisation.
No, she doesn't.
How's that?
She doesn't. Well, there was an article that spoke about her father's ideologies, and it spoke about her father's views, because she's got a non-Aboriginal father, and that the article is actually on my Facebook page there, Marianne Mackay, and it talks about how he pretty much brainwashed her, in a sense, to think the way that she does.
That's going to harm a lot of communities and cause division.
Well, you've got communities up in the Northern Territory that have said time and time again, you do not speak for us.
Yeah.
You know, and the last election she won from, the majority of her votes came from suburban Darwin.
Yeah.
So not even from communities. You know, and it's really shocking, because if our elders tell us something, like don't speak about this or you can't speak or whatever, we listen.
Yeah.
Because that's cultural protocols. Your elders are your British, you know, like your bosses. Whereas you got senior Walbury leaders talking out, and she's just ignoring what they say, and they're specifically saying Jacinta Price doesn't speak for us.
Yeah, look, I don't know anymore. I mean, I just believe I'm just into human rights and helping First Nations community, and I'm not even sure whether politics can really help.
No, politics can't, because we are not a political issue.
Correct.
We are a human race of people who are fighting for the survival of our culture in an assimilationist system that is built on a foundation of racism.
And stolen land.
You know, yep, dispossession, you know, stolen land, stolen wages, stolen wealth, you know, disconnection. You know, it's really, really, and this is why when I confronted Jacinta Price in Adelaide at the Intercontinental Hotel there on Thursday night, it was so frustrating, because I walked up to her at the reception and I stood right next to her, and I waited for her to look at me, like I was practically touching her shoulder, you know. And then she looked at me and I was like, hey, Jacinta, we finally meet face to face after all these years. You remember me, Anna, Marianne Mackay? And her face just dropped. And I just let her have it, because I told her she disrespects law and culture all the time, even though she promotes herself as a Walbury woman. she come to my country and disrespected my elders and didn't follow Nyungar protocols and didn't even apologise. And then she calls me a nobody. And it's like, well, I'm a mother of 7. I'm a Nyungar woman, you know, who has the respect of my people and my elders to speak, you know, and a grandmother of 2. And it's like, well, I actually am somebody. Everybody in Australia is somebody, regardless of your status. But she seems to think that she's above all the blackfellas and all the Wadulars because she's a senator.
That's not the way it has to be.
No, it's not.
Yeah, women have to stick together. We all have to stick together.
Well, that's right. And I'm all for supporting women and lifting women up and encouraging women. So to be in a space with a woman who is so driven by her own ego was really sad. I actually feel sorry for her.
We have to feel sorry.
To not have the love and support of your people, whether it's through your own doing, like that's sad. And to not have your family stand by you, especially when you're going through a lot, well, I could never imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, and there is colonisation.
It is. It is because her mind has been so socially conditioned to the colonial mindset that she just doesn't think like us mob on the ground, whether you're a black fella, whether you're a Wadula that is awake, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just doesn't have the capacity, in my view, to actually think with an open mind. Like her mind is closed off to anything that the normal reasonable person would understand.
Very, very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Yep, and I don't know how she's going to be one of the leaders in the Liberal Party when she has no idea of all the portfolios, and even Pauline Hanson said this, even though I don't support her. She has no knowledge to be able to speak on all the portfolios because she doesn't have that diverse knowledge of all the issues that everybody goes through.
And
what hope do we have as a people to move forward and better our lives?
I think what's really sad here is that lived experience is being discounted here. The Doin Time show has a long tradition of working with communities with lived experience, and this has been discounted.
Well, that's right. And, you know, like we need people in politics that are going to be able to support the children into the future, because Jacinta Price's actions are very damaging to our children.
Indeed.
You know, and there's a lot of racist divide that she is a part of. You know, and you got all these children suffering in these detention centres, plus men and women suffering, you know, and she just doesn't care. She promotes herself that she cares, but she doesn't care, really.
She needs to do a lot more than that, and to be able to connect.
I'd love to. Well, that's right, and I'd love to debate her, but after 8 years, she's still ignoring my request.
Oh, you never know. You never know what can happen. And
well, that's right.
It's good that you've talked about it on air anyway.
Yeah, no, that's right. And, you know, like our plane was delayed for 3 hours in Adelaide that night, and I believe that was the ancestors, because I was across the road having dinner when one of my brother boys rang me and said, "You need to get over here now, Jacinta's checking in."
I reckon too. I mean, it's so good to talk like that, because the ancestors play a very, very special role, and they protect, and they orchestrate things.
Well, that's right. And we are a spiritual culture like many First Nations right around the world, you know. And people tend to forget that everything in life is connected through energy.
Exactly.
You know, and if we're putting out that positive energy in order to make things better in a positive way, well, that energy is going to come back to us with what needs to be done, you know, and lead the way.
That is a really, really important statement, and that's how I live my life, and that's how we all should live our lives.
Yep, that's right.
Thank you so much for coming onto the program.
No, that's all right. Thanks for having me. It's always good to have a yarn with you.
Absolutely, sis, and we'll talk again soon.
Yep, of course.
Take care.
All right, you too. All
Bye.
right, catch up.
Bye. And that was Marianne Mackay, and we were having a really important discussion about the election, the aftermath, and looking at bail laws and what we can do to help First Nations youth in this colonised settler society.
The war on Palestine has not stopped. Palestinians need self-determination. Gaza must be free of Israeli occupation forces, have unconditional access to aid and reconstruction. 17 years of Israeli siege must end.
The West Bank needs the violence and attacks by the Israeli army and settlers to stop, and an end to the occupation and apartheid.
Your support to end the war on Gaza to bring peace, justice and freedom to all of Palestine is needed more than ever.
Join the 77th Nakba Day rally on Sunday, the 18th of May, 12 noon, outside the State Library on Swanson Street.
With Netanyahu and Trump threatening to ethnically cleanse Gaza and annex the West Bank, we all need to stand up and say no.
Nakba Day rally, Sunday, the 18th of May, midday, State Library.
With your support, Palestine will be free, from the river to the sea.
Free Palestine Melbourne is a 3CR supporter.
And in case you've just tuned in, this is the Doin Time show, 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. And coming up now, we are going to be crossing over to Queensland, and we'll be speaking with Boe Spearim, who is a podcaster and activist and has done some really excellent radio episodes and commentary on genocide, colonization, massacres, and I just wanted to do a content warning that there is going to be talk about deaths in custody and graphic stuff about police brutality. We're going to be speaking with Boe shortly about the Native Police and looking at historical context up to the present. Hello, Boe. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how you going?
Good. Lovely to have you. Now, before we start, can you just tell us what land you're on?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What land you come from? Sorry. Yep.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. Yama, Boe Spearim, Gulmarri, Kuma, Marawari. Born in Western Sydney, but my mum is from Garuga and Brewarrina. She's Marawari and Kuma. My dad was born in Moree. He's Gamilaroi. Those tribes are northwest New South Wales and southern Queensland, like west as well. So that's... But I grew up here in Brisbane and have so since, I was a little kid. So
cool.
This is home, but definitely still go for New South Wales around the State of Origin time.
Okay, so you're in Queensland at the moment?
Yes, here in Brisbane, on Yagara country is mainly where I've spent most of my time growing up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we've had you on this show quite a few times. We've had you on for NAIDOC Week last year, I think, and also talking a lot about the massacre map as well. And I know that Lyndall has passed away now, but she did some fantastic work. But today we're going to be speaking about Native police. Can you tell us, give us a little bit of context and background, and maybe see if we can link it up today and see. I mean, it's really affected Aboriginal people, hasn't it, in a big way?
Yeah, definitely. It has, yeah. So the Native Mounted Police, which is in its title made up by, the natives of the land, where, early occupation is going, and their intent is to be used, one, because they know the land, and also, I guess, to get them to do the dirty work of, the invaders. And the mounted police were used, or the idea of it was, used in Ireland, possibly Scotland as well. Anywhere where the British Empire went, they always used their own sort of folks to do the native folks do the bad work. It is described by Henry Reynolds as one of the most brutalist organisations in the country. And not every state in Queensland had native mounted police officers, so they worked somewhat side by side with normal white mounted police officers. Their intent, as I said, was to, because they knew the land better, was to use their skills to suppress any kind of resistance from Aboriginal people throughout the land, wherever, the native mounted police were, I guess in their eyes, needed to suppress resistance or cull sort of the Aboriginal population.
So the native mounted police were in some ways used as weapons against Aboriginal communities to wipe out the race, isn't it?
Yeah.
That they were used almost as they were slaves, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely, and it is. I think it is one point just to point out within that as well. Yeah, they did some terrible things to other black folks, other Aboriginal people. They participated in massacres, and possibly even more horrendous things that you could only imagine. But at the same time, there was like a different, I guess, societal balance within the mounted police. Some were coerced to be mounted police officers. Some were the last living members of after a massacre, or some, as I said, were coerced by either having their children taken hostage, or being forced to sort of relocate with their family, and so there was definitely like the power balance within this dynamic as well. In most cases, they wouldn't camp together. They'd have their own separate sort of camps, unless they were out, patrol or out, hunting black fellas. Like I guess they all would, kind of camp together, but in their camps that they would set up, there would be, I'm sure there would have been, a sort of, that's where all the black fellas camp over there, this is where the white fellas camp over there, because that's how it was in those times as well. And, they were a very fast, brutal organisation. Local newspapers would always write about, the brutality of them, or, in newspaper clippings or in journals, they would speak about the amount of police walking through a town or being sighted and their uniform being, covered in blood, and being a very, very scary sight as well.
Very scary. So you've done quite a lot of research about this?
Yeah, I've done, not as much, but there has been quite a bit of work done in regards of the native mounted police, their use, and also the trying to find out the figures and estimate the number of Aboriginal people who died at the hands of the native mounted police as well. And so, what they would do is they would get other black fellows from other parts from different countries, from different parts of, Australia, in different states and territories, I guess, because they, would be more inclined because they had no relation relationship with, the mob in the area that they were sort of policing as well. So usually you would find, New South Wales mounted police in Tasmania and, vice versa, Queensland and Victoria or New South Wales and Queensland. Like there was a crossover of where they would situate, and depending on the need, I guess, in their sort of, in their eyes, the need of them in certain areas would sort of vary depending on, I guess, how they would execute, their plans and then their goals to sort of, suppress, the resistance. In some cases, they would be there for a few days to months to decades, and they would be called, mounted police officers, the stations and stuff. And I think one of the last ones that was actually still called that was either in the 60s or 70s, I believe, in Far North Queensland, which, Queensland, from record and research, have recorded some very high numbers in regards to the death toll in regards to Aboriginal people.
And that would include massacres, evidently.
Oh, yeah, it's totally massacres. Yeah, that was their intent, their intended purpose. And like, let's get it, like, not just the native fellas, like, white people did all the massacres before they decided to, grab, black fellas to do their dirty work as well. And then they still participated in these massacres as well. It was a very brutal process, and in Queensland, I think over 60 years, there was supposedly like 60 to 65,000 Aboriginal people that were killed in that brutal sweep with the mounted police, and also with partialists and squatters and all these other different sort of acts of violence towards Aboriginal people from other folks as well. So there's actually been quite a bit of research here in Queensland done, and the figures vary, and they're supposed to be conservative numbers as well in regards to the amount of Aboriginal people, 60 to 65,000 over, supposed over 60 to 70 years. And so, their intent was to do so, to squash that. And they really started here in Queensland, like, not long after the likes of Dundalli was hung here in so-called Brisbane. They were rolled out pretty much very, very fast after that. So, totally, yeah. So that was the 1940s.
The 1940s? That wasn't
the 1840s.
Maybe it was the 1940s. The 1840s.
1840s, yeah, around that time. The sort of mid to late 1840s, I believe it was.
So the frontier wars then, so Australians died in the frontier wars that raged across the continent after European occupation in 1788. So what are the frontier wars exactly? How would you describe it?
Yeah, so I guess it's described as, battles and conflicts that were waged in different parts of Australia, or what is now Australia, among Aboriginal people, and then the British, soldiers, and then later sort of the Australian, soldiers and Australian police officers who still continue to carry out massacres. So there were a series of battles and conflicts waged on this continent, throughout this continent. That stretched as far as Tasmania to Broome to far north Queensland to Victoria to the bottom of Perth to Central Australia. There wasn't much of this land that weren't touched by colonial violence and also frontier conflict. And I think just to define what is that? So it isn't just massacres, warriors, and perpetrators. It's the colonial penal system incarcerating hundreds, if not thousands, of Aboriginal people. It's the use of chains and escorting Aboriginal people hundreds of miles from one part of a state to the other. It's investigating Aboriginal people dying at a high rate in the penal system in the 1850s, and saying, and then them looking at it, going, "Whoa, this is, this is crazy. We can't be, and it happened. There was an investigation into Aboriginal people dying in the penal system in New South Wales in the 1850s. I guess some of the governors, whoever it was at the time, was concerned about it, and also it's the bringing of other Indigenous men from Aotearoa in South Africa to live out their life in the penal system for being warriors and freedom fighters in their own country. So they were brought here and left here to sort of rot and die and then spend the rest of their days here in exile from their own country. And a lot of these penal systems that were sort of set up, the prisons, they housed Aboriginal men, but also other Indigenous men who participated in frontier conflict, as well as the convicts from England as well. So for me, when I say frontier wars, it's sort of like I always picture a broad sort of encompassing sort of frontier, of the things that did happen, and the things that we can't forget, and we shouldn't forget, all the things that we need to sort of understand and then eventually reconcile with, as well, to have a better understanding of history, but then also of relationships and how things continue to sort of play out today.
Exactly. I mean, in some ways, would you say, well, we could say that the frontier wars are in some ways continuing under a so-called civil modern situation where you've got the over-incarceration of Aboriginal people now in Australia and deaths in custody?
Definitely, but also we also got to remember that we are still operating under a constitution that wasn't written for Aboriginal people, and was written to write us out of history, to kill us off. We're still under a constitution that has that. And I'm not advocating saying, vote us in,
sure,
out of this institution. But their intent wasn't for us to be here this long after they, federated in 1901. They were still out there massacring us. And as you mentioned, the incarceration rate, the high rate of Aboriginal children being stolen, forcibly removed, the destruction of country, all these different things that they've done to us, and that they still continue to do to us today, are things that they did when they first and before they set up, their formal sort of document that sort of constituted this country, and it seems as if that's still the plan, to get blackfellas out of the way so they think they can get a continent for free, but they've got another thing coming.
Oh, that's not happening. I mean, we've got a lot of people. I think First Nations communities are alive and well.
Mm-hmm. Totally, definitely, and ever since they got off the boat and they started firing shots, we were throwing spears and boomerangs back, and we to this day we continue to resist and to thrive, and continue to hold our resistance and raise the next generation of warriors up as well, and that's always been our thing, and that will always be our thing. Nothing in history that we have to this date was never given to blackfellas. It was always off of the back of the struggle and the fight of our people. The lives lost and the sort of blood spilt. That's why we have the many things that we have today. And I think a lot of people that are non-Indigenous, but then also a lot of people that are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, I think take that for granted because I think they can't grasp the understanding of that, maybe because it was so long ago. It was like 40 odd, almost 50 years ago now that the beginning of the land rights movement and the Black Power movement and the establishment of sort of organisations that we have today that we sometimes take granted for, or sometimes they mislead the communities as well. But within that being said, we have those because we fought, and we'll continue to hold that struggle.
Absolutely, and in fact, tell us about isn't there an event happening about Captain Cook?
Yeah, so on Stradbroke Island, there's an elders group, and they've called for solidarity actions across the East Coast to relight fires that were lit in 1770 when Cook was floating along the east coast of Australia, trying to find somewhere to pull in and claim as a colony of Britain. And so what happened was, as far as sort of Victoria, he was spotted and mob, lit beacons of fire, sort of like as you'd see in Lord of the Rings or these sort of epic, movies where fires are being lit on the top of mountains, and then the next sort of mountaintop gets lit. So the same thing happened here. From as far as Victoria down to all the way up to the top as far as far north Queensland, these fire beacons were lit. So on the 17th of May of this month, the mob in Australia, they're going to relight a fire. Because the 7th of May, 1770, that's when Cook sailed through the East Coast and, pointed at Stradbroke Island. And I think they're going to do it at a place called Point Lookout, where he saw fire, or somewhere on the island there. And they've done a call-out to mob on the East Coast to get in contact with them, or even just to go ahead with a fire signal on the 17th of May this month. And hopefully this becomes an annual event every year, and we can get other mobs along the East Coast or even all across this continent to light a fire. And when I mean fire, I mean a huge fire, a big fire with quite a bit of smoke to see from a certain distance.
Oh, wow. And Queensland's doing that?
Yeah, so Stradbroke is doing it and kicking it off on the 17th of May. I haven't heard at the moment if there are other mob that will be doing the exact same thing, but hopefully they do. And
what is it for exactly? Like, can you explain what
Definitely, of course.
what it is?
Yeah, definitely. It's a healing fire or healing smoke, or just to sort of reignite,
Good.
that struggle and that fight for, decolonization and our people. Yes, there's a whole bunch of mob that are doing that from Australia, and hopefully I can get over there on that day to sort of see this historical sort of moment, relit again as well. And it's amazing that a lot of mob are taking this and running with it as well. So that's deadly.
Fantastic. Well, thanks. And what date is that? The 17th of May, you said?
Yep, the 17th of May, which is a Saturday.
We'll be doing some coverage on that on this show, and have you back to talk about that at some stage. But yeah, so looking at the police, what was happening with Mounted Police, in a way, now the police currently have done designated areas in Victoria, and there's new police powers now, and that will really affect marginalised communities.
Definitely. They always activate these new police powers, and then they leave them in. So up here, when we have the G20 protest, and then when we have the Commonwealth Games protest, they activated new police powers, and I think they were given a bunch of new toys and tools to use to oppress people. And after these games and these sort of events happen, they keep them.
Exactly.
And they keep these police powers.
Yep.
We see this, all the time throughout sort of history. Given a new, lease to sort of oppress and surveil and marginalised communities, because they're the ones that are most affected by these huge police presence, and in a very discriminatory way as well.
So we've talked about quite a lot today. I mean, we've talked a lot about the frontier wars, and I would encourage listeners to have a look at some of these newspaper articles and have a look at some of the figures, and also, can you tell us about your podcast and where listeners can look at those podcasts?
Sure. So they can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Awesome Black. If you just Google search Frontier War Stories, then all the episodes will come up. And I've still got a bunch that I've got to start to edit. I've been really slack on those. Just sort of rebuilding the team around as well, just sort of get that moving as well. So, getting that done, which is awesome. So, have more episodes, and then I want to do something big for the 50th. I've still got quite a few episodes to go, but I want to get to 50 episodes and maybe do something special for the podcast.
Fantastic.
Maybe, yeah. But no, thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming. So in summary, basically the frontier wars has happened over the last 140 years.
Definitely.
Hasn't it?
It was a fast expansion across this continent, and it was very brutal. From invasion to my country, in my old man's country, like Moree in particular, from 1788, it took them 50 years maybe. So the 1830s they got to Gomeroi country. 1820s they got to Wiradjuri country at the Wiradjuri Wars. And then so the early 1830s they got to Gomeroi country. It was very fast and very brutal across this continent. You look at Tasmania for an example of how brutal the frontier was, but then also look at Tasmania of how resilient and how, just deadly and staunch the mob are. They fought off the Black Line and, had amazing, warriors who went into Victoria and held resistances as well. And, shout out to them mob. But, yeah, it was very fast and brutal. But, we're still here and, we're still surviving and thriving and then still holding down, the resistance, from those early warriors to now.
Thank you so much for coming onto the program, Boe, and we'll let you know when the podcast link comes out. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. No, thanks, and shout out to Marianne as well. Sister Marianne, heard her just on the podcast, on the yarn just before. No, deadly sister, I love what she does as well, so shout out to her.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Likewise.
Thanks. Bye-bye. And that was Boe Spearim, who is a podcaster and activist. He's done some excellent radio shows, and he was also a speaker at the Mile Creek Memorial last year. We will be doing some coverage on Mile Creek Massacre coming up in New South Wales pretty soon.
Come along to the Darebin Intercultural Centre on Wednesday 21st of May for our Cultural Diversity Oration. Enjoy a talk by UNESCO Chair for Comparative Research on Cultural Diversity and Social Justice, Fedi Mansouri, followed by a Q&A session facilitated by comedian and MC Diana Nguyen. The Q&A will be followed by live music and light snacks. The oration will form part of the IC Nights monthly series. For more information, visit darebin.vic.gov.au/intercultural-centre, a 3CR supporter.
CR's annual Radiothon fundraiser is almost here.
This June we'll be asking for your donations to support 3CR.
Your donation during Radiothon keeps the station radical and enables us to give voice to our community for another year.
All donations over $2 are tax deductible.
3CR Radiothon is coming. Show your support by donating this June.
3CR, your station, your voice.
And you're back with the Doin Time show. It's approximately 4:56. I've got about a minute before I'm out of here. And yes, Radiothon is coming, and we'll talk more about that next week. And it's come to that time again. Our target is $1,000 for the Doin Time show. And yeah, start donating now to all shows at 3CR. So we're going to be going out now with our theme song, Black Fella, White Fella, from the Rumpy Band. And stay tuned every Monday for the Doin Time show from 4 till 5. Thanks a lot. Bye.
As long as you a true fella, as long as you a real fella. All the people of different races with different lives in different places. It doesn't matter what your name is. We got to have lots of changes. We need more brothers if we're to make it. We need more sisters if we're to save it. Are you the one who's gonna stand up and be counted? Are you the one who's gonna be there when we're shouting? Are you the one who's always ready with a helping hand? Are you the one who understands this family plan? Black fella, white fella, yellow fella, any fella, it doesn't matter what you color, as long as you a true fella. All the people of different races with different lives in different places. It doesn't matter which religions, it's all the same where the ship is sinking. We need more brothers if we're to make it. We need more sisters
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. For more information, go to allthews.3cr.org.au.